is the invention, or some say the discovery, of digital scarcity. And, once it gets going, it really takes off. So where's it going to be in the next 10 years? I remember looking at Bitcoin thinking, yeah, it's really probably something I should look at. Exponential growth is equal to progress. One day we'll probably look back on Bitcoin and say, well, actually, Bitcoin made trust cheaper. Exponential side of things, and how exponential growth is equal to progress. It can seem like we're living in difficult times and the things are getting worse and worse and worse. And, if you take if you look at a short time period, it can feel like, things actually do take a dip. But if you kind of zoom out, and we're always saying that in the Bitcoin world, right? If you zoom out, things actually have been getting better and better. So, there's a number of different stats out here, but child mortality rates going down, deaths from infections going down, deaths from malnutrition down, global mortality rate has been trending down, labor force in agriculture trending down, extreme poverty rate down, and then some ups as well. So literacy rate increasing over time, life expectancy increasing, and GDP per capita increasing. And so the reality is that in most areas, we're actually getting better. Things are getting better and better for humanity. So, I think it's good to kind of take a step back and just perhaps sometimes, remove yourself from the noise and stop thinking negatively, as I guess reality is the positive thinkers get the positive results. And actually there's a great quote that I love, which is, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. And, that can relate to how you think about Bitcoin and the opportunity that's ahead for us. If you think that Bitcoin is a scam and is going to zero, well, you're going to get the price you deserve. I mean, going back to the idea that as we're talking about, we're very early and we're in the minority, and I think we're still, we're still grinding. It's like the wave of Bitcoin is really just still taking off, and we see the adoption growing. And actually, I've got some cool slides on the adoption rate coming up. But once it gets going, it really takes off, and this is the power of exponential numbers. And actually, just as an example, so do you know about the when you fold a piece of paper 50 times, like how thick it can get? Have you heard of that? Yeah. So
I heard about it. I think it's not possible beyond like 7 or 8 times, and then it's like a ridiculously high number of, like, it would be the distance to the moon or something.
Yeah. Actually, it's even beyond that. So so if we have a look at the chart here, the chart shows a bit of a hockey stick curve. So, yeah, you're right. You can't fold it more than about 7 times. But let's just say you could, physically fold a piece of paper, just 1 millimeter thick. If you could fold it 50 times, well, on this chart, we go up to about 20 folds, and we're up to about 1,000 meters in thickness already. But you see, it really starts to go vertical, and this is the power of exponential numbers. And, I run this example through with people, and they cannot get it. They're like, what? And after 23 folds, we're up to about 9,000 meters. But it just goes like way beyond, you can see on a chart. We'd have to go to log charts, and even that's not going to, illustrate it well, because it actually becomes over 1.1 billion kilometers thick on the 50th fold. So that the sun is only 150 million kilometers away. So this piece of paper would extend well past Jupiter's orbit. So that's the power of exponentials. It's difficult to comprehend. It's like trying to understand, what is $1 trillion? What does that look like? There's some good infographics out there, and encourage people to have a look at that. Just Google that, because even $1 trillion is, that gets thrown around in the Bitcoin world now. And with the economy and, the US debt, that, $1 trillion is extremely hard to even understand how much that is. Yeah, there you can see gold is almost 20 trillion now. And of course, you've got the Mag 7 companies there worth their trillions. And so Bitcoin has, recently surpassed silver, which was 1.6 trillion. We were all waiting for that, a couple of years ago. And then it's hot on the heels of Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Nvidia, Apple. So, and actually, when Bitcoin does reach gold's market cap, that would be a $20 trillion market cap. So we'd be looking at around about $1 million per Bitcoin at that point.
Yeah. It's interesting because probably it will be even higher because the US dollar will devalue in that period of time, depending on when we hit it. But I think if Bitcoin hits 1 million, gold will probably also have still like gained some value over time. So it will probably like be at like 1.5 million. But yeah, like around that price target if we go from now, which is super interesting. Also, one thing I just want to note here, it's so crazy that Bitcoin is still smaller than some companies. People will look back in like 10, 20 years and look at that chart and like, wow, Bitcoin was smaller than a company. That will be so outrageous. And now it's so normal, but it will be so outrageous. I can't wait to tell people like, oh, I was in Bitcoin before it overtook the biggest company of the world. Like
Bitcoin's obviously had some small competition, but none of them have been successful. Bitcoin has easily won that and will win that. I mean, Bitcoin is the invention, or some say the discovery of digital scarcity. And once that's discovered, the genie's out of the bottle. It can't be discovered again. It's some people refer to it as it's like the invention of the wheel. You can't make the wheel more round, or you can't make a better wheel. That's
I love that you cannot make the wheel more rounded, and that's why Bitcoin is you cannot make Bitcoin better. I love that a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And obviously, the deeper you dive down the rabbit hole, the more that really sinks in. And of course, crypto, we've got so many products: stablecoins, shitcoins, NFTs. There's meme coins, security coins. The list goes on, right? And you've got a whole bunch of shitcoins, as we like to say. They really are shitcoins. They're about pump and dumps. They're about making money. Some people want to make more Bitcoin. You've got a whole bunch of just bad technology projects. And you've probably got a small slither of successful tech projects that may come out of this. And I think one of those in the sort of short to medium term is stablecoins. And I think there's definitely some potential for more growth there, especially with the likes of, Tether being built on Lightning, for example. I think that's pretty cool. And it makes sense to build all these products, because I would suggest that stablecoins are a product as well. They're not a protocol. But all of these products will be built on Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is the infrastructure. And so stablecoins, they've been growing at a rate of about 35% over the last few years. And I think we're going to see that probably take off in an exponential way as well. And if you compare stablecoins to, say, PayPal or Visa, it's actually, stablecoins, there's lots of numbers out there, but I think the stablecoin volume in 2023 was about nearly 11 trillion, and Visa is about 11.6 trillion. So there's not a lot of difference. There's stable coins there on the chart, growing very fast. And of course, as I mentioned before, we live in a digital world where almost everything has been digitized: communication, music, photography, except for money. We're still living on a fiat standard. We're still living in the analog world for money. Bitcoin is currently worth about 0.21% of total global wealth. So it's tiny. It's 0.21%. And that could easily go up to 5%, 10% and beyond, but let's be conservative. So if over the last 10 years, Bitcoin has grown at a rate of, say, 84%. So we could be conservative and say over the next 10 years, Bitcoin could grow at a rate of 30%. So if that was the case, if we look at the global capital would increase as well. So we'd go from 992 trillion to 77 trillion. So approaching that 2 quadrillion. That would be an increase of like 6% per year over the next 10 years. That Bitcoin going from 0.21% to 3% of global capital would mean that Bitcoin would have a market cap of $53 trillion, and that would be $2.5 million per Bitcoin. And that's only a 25x from here. And of course, over the previous years, yeah.
Oh, sorry, just what and it's still just 3%. It's like there's still like massive wealth everywhere else. Like it's still at that point still in the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think this has got to be conservative, really. But yeah, that's it. It still would only be 3% of global capital based on that prediction. But who knows? That's a prediction anyway.
Absolutely, and it's super interesting to look at those baseline assumptions of those like baselines where we could go, and then you quickly come to the conclusion, even if you're very conservative, even if you're going on a very, very almost bearish kind of a baseline assumption, you're very bullish. It's hard to be not excited about the future when you're Bitcoin. So yeah, thank you so much for that.